Hey everyone, my name is Nick Brodnicki from the American Heart Association, and this is an Oregon and Southwest Washington Hard Hats with Heart training focused on nutrition. I'm going to be speaking with you, the craft worker, all about food, drink, and our healthy or maybe not so healthy relationship to it. So, here are the three things we are going to chat about today over about 10 minutes together. First of all, I want you to feel good about three simple habits you can use to eat healthier. I also want you to feel like the changes you can make to the food you eat and the drink you consume will fit within your schedule. And then lastly, we want you to feel empowered to talk about this with management, with your family, about anything you learn over the next 10 minutes. We want you to be able to spread this knowledge and feel good about it. That also is associated with asking questions. And the inevitable question of why always comes up. So let's get started there. Why does this matter? We've all been told to eat more fruits and vegetables and work on our nutrition. Why is that? Well, actually, what we consume, the nutrition that we consume, it is a major, major factor in our heart health and brain health, and it contributes to a lot of things that negatively affect our heart and brain health. Our nutrition, it is a major factor towards things that can lead to heart attacks, strokes, and other issues we might experience in life. Secondly, or really third, I guess, after we talk to that piece, better nutrition gives you a better chance at a longer, healthier life with your family. It's not just about you feeling good, but it's also about you being able to be there for and with your family in the long run. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't say that better nutrition, it's going to help you at your job. It just will, whether it's energy levels or focus or really anything else, it's going to help there. So that's a little bit of our why to get us started. So I feel like some good framing might be chatting about why less healthy food can taste so good. Why do we crave it so much? And it's really going to come down to three things: salt, sugar, and fat. And the way those things interact in our body and interact in our minds, then, like the chemical reactions that can happen. These three things, salt, sugar, and fat, they are an extremely important part of nutrition. But the reality is, they're not often consumed at levels that make them necessarily healthy in the long run. And you can just think about maybe how much salt you might put on some of your cooked food, or if you've ever looked at the nutrition label of some processed food, just how much salt or sugar or fat is in those things. So I want to work with you to turn those concepts on their head, those three things: salt, sugar, and fat. Let's work through some choices that maybe don't create as many cravings, but still get us that salt, sugar, and fat that we want in our lives, because again, they are important. And I want to throw in that you can crave things, you can crave things that are a little bit different than that too, like color. We might be able to bring into this, which you might have heard when the Heart Association has spoken about, eating vegetables or fruits in the past. So let's chat about swaps and strategies that allow us to not maybe have as many cravings. And then that kind of falls into ideas that can diversify our nutrition to help us meet our nutritional needs, which again goes back to that heart and brain health, both for ourselves, our family, and our jobs. So cravings, and well, really salt, fat, and anything else we talk about with sugar, it's not necessarily just about reading the label on what it is you're buying, if it's a processed food or it's something in a can or a bag, but that's definitely a good practice. But moving on to that craving piece, though, where I really want to dig in, cravings, they can, besides just hankering for something, they can be associated with energy levels. And I think most of us can probably say, well, I want my energy levels to be more even throughout the day. I don't want to crash. I don't want to be losing focus. I want to be on. I want to be on when I'm on the job. I want to be on when I'm with my family or my kids or my parents or my friends. And if we kind of take that in the lens of sugar and we look at things that might be popular that give us a boost, right? Like energy drinks or some sodas, there's a lot of sugar that helps spike us up and give us that energy for a little while, but there's often that major crash that happens at the end. We know that natural sugar, though, lasts a lot longer. So that's the first example we're going to use to frame some of the small steps we can take to make a change. So let's put this in portion management as the first place to start here. I said that labels aren't everything, but you can definitely look at the portion size on the label. Is that equivalent to a couple of fistfuls of something that you're pulling out of a bag? Or how much is in that drink, how many servings are in that drink? You might want to start looking at portion sizes and say, oh, wow, I didn't realize there was that much in there. Or is that a lot? I don't know if that's a lot of sugar or salt, but I can figure that out. I can ask the Heart Association. I can look that up online. So that's the first place. For portion management, we also want to think about how can you purposely change the volume of something that you're eating if it isn't the most healthy thing for you. Easy way to think about that, put it in a container that can only fit so much. Instead of grabbing things out of a bag, you can put it in a cup. You can put it in a little like quart size zip baggie or something like that. You can also count. I'm into counting things. So you could say, well, I might eat this stack of Oreos typically. Let's go with one less. And then maybe a week or two later, you can pull out another one. And we'll get to swaps, but you could bring something in to replace that if you still feel like you want more. And then one last portion management way to approach the cravings and the salt, sugar, and fat that we get is maybe thinking about specific days where it's almost like a treat where you're like, oh, I'm going to save that for Fridays, or I'm going to save that for the weekend. And you try and maybe not do as much, because dropping or cutting things out completely can often be a shock to the system or the mind. Maybe it's not the easiest way. You're with a group of friends and you're all eating a certain thing, and you don't want to feel terribly guilty about something that you feel is less healthy. We want that balance. We want that moderation when we look at portion management. So that's a little bit about how we might be able to portion out the salt, the sugar, the fat that we're getting. But let's dig into the nutrition of that a little bit more, and let's talk about swapping things out. Because, well, if you're looking for something sweet all the time, you might be able to just throw in some fruit to meet that craving. It's going to give you a better type of sugar. It's going to give you a better type of energy that lasts longer. It's going to be overall healthier. And if you're like, well, yeah, fruit, it's not exactly the same as something really sweet that I like. Hint, you can put a little sprinkle of salt on there. That gets your salt back in. That's going to change the dynamic of that fruit, and it's might hit some of the flavor palette things that you've been looking for. You can also grab frozen things. If you're like, I just can't grab fresh, I don't have time for it. Oh, grab something that's frozen. Let it defrost in a container throughout the day. Throw that frozen thing in with something you're making on the stove. Here's a big one for swaps. Maybe fast food is just really easy for you. It's easy on the drive home. It's easy on the drive into work. It's easy when you're heading somewhere with the kids for an activity. So how could you make something like that for yourself? Maybe on a weekend, maybe on an evening where you give it a try and you're like, oh, I really like this burger from somewhere. Maybe I can make it healthier on my own. And it kind of gives you that pride about, that's good, but like, look what I made, right? Okay, back to labels for a second. Does the label say no sugar added? Maybe what you're eating has a certain amount in it, but the same brand has something that says no sugar added. That's a good way to look at it. Maybe you can do a straight swap for something like the chips you might normally eat for veggie chips. Still not like the most healthy option, but something worth trying because it's going to put you in the right direction. And I think a really big piece at dinner time, when you think about maybe like the proteins that you consume and how fats are involved in that, a lot of people might say, yeah, but I I just feel like I get a lot from red meat, for example. And you do get a lot of good things from red meat, but maybe you can swap some things in once a week for that red meat. Maybe you can find a way to use beans or fish or nuts to hit some of those protein, fat, flavor profile pieces. Just think about the different ways that you can approach tacos. That's a really great way to think about that. And then that color piece, right? What looks interesting? Can you make it a game? Especially if you have little ones running around. Can you make it a game where you're just like, well, like, what does this color taste like? What can we pair it with to make it taste even better? Think about how beers or wines are paired with different food. How can you do that with colors of vegetables or fruit? So, given everybody a lot to chew on there, and I want to give you some next steps to move forward. Hopefully, you feel like a couple of these ideas are create opportunity for you. So, what to do next? Well, first of all, I'm going to say that there's no wrong answer here. There's no judgment. You got to try some things, right? Try some experimentation if you're not feeling like your nutrition and your diet as a whole is helping you, especially on that salt, sugar, fat framing. Try to buy one less thing from the center of the grocery store. If you're the do the shopping, or someone else in your family or someone you have a relationship with does some of the shopping, try to, when you get in a bigger grocery store, try and get a couple more things from the outside and maybe not the center where more of the processed foods are. I would say when we go back to the swap thing, if you can do one swap at a meal this week and see if it's an easy thing, the way you might make potatoes or the way you might make rice, right? Or the way you might make pasta. Make one swap, give it a try, something that seems a little bit healthier for you. You can make some of those swaps by looking at the Heart Association's Heart Check mark on boxed food too. Take a look for that when you're looking through a bigger grocery store. And then the last piece, which is probably one of the most important pieces, is that communication piece. Ask your boss or management about what they can do to support you on the job as you're eating when you're there, if they're providing food, if you're bringing your food with you. How can they help support you to be a better you through all of this? So I hope you've been able to pick up a couple things from this nutrition talk today. Really appreciate you joining this Hard Hats with Heart training, and look forward to all the future trainings. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, or bosses or management on your job sites, or with within the industries you're working for, all the leadership. Ask them some of these questions. And until next time, stay healthy, and we'll talk soon.